Hi, I'm Eric Van Eimeren. Welcome to my 7-minute slideshow about industry and how it relates to my work, hosted by Artaxis. When I hear the word industry, my mind's eye goes to the energy and chemical plants dotting the landscape between LA and Huntington Beach where I grew up. This is a page from the photo album I kept as an undergraduate student in the 80s, with imagery I was drawn to for inspiration. I've always had a curiosity about why things look the way that they do. What sort of problem solving goes into designing machinery and products, and how does it affect the end results? Does form always follow function? With my aesthetic leaning towards geometric shape and line common to industrial design and architecture, I found ceramics to be a really fun way to combine and explore ideas related to both. I would challenge myself with engineering problems, often requiring trips to the hardware store for gaskets and bearings. Although I was aware that people would not likely use these pieces at the dinner table, it was important to me that they functioned. These sculpturally playful pieces were technically functional, but with tongue firmly in cheek. They were one-off pieces never to be produced in numbers, but looked as though they might have been manufactured years before in a factory within the world of Dr. Seuss or Alice in Wonderland. Pieces would begin with the basic idea of a bowl or teapot and end up as sculptural interpretations of these things. This ketchup mustard pickle relish piece would technically function by dressing up your hot dog, but will never see the inside of a dishwasher. Combining discarded metal and other materials with my ceramics, the most successful pieces for me were those that looked futuristic yet old and weathered, like a relic from the future's industrial past. At the end of the 90s, I began to shift away from the more complex gallery work. Here we jump ahead 2 decades to the pottery present, and the word industry takes on a different meaning. It involves a more traditional approach to production pottery, making multiples in huge numbers, like 5 or 6. Though I see myself as being a part of the pottery industry, I still approach making with a similar sense of curiosity as I did with the more sculptural work. This basically means spending way too much time building pieces by hand that could be produced more efficiently with manufacturing. Many of my pots end up looking as though they were designed and manufactured, but are more like handmade prototypes, never to be produced in large quantities. This way of working doesn't really lend itself to growing a business with increased production, but it does make me happy going into the studio every day. I am making an effort at becoming better at the business end of things and increasing my production, mostly mugs, bowls, and plates, though I do try to include an experiment or two with each kiln load. These pieces that combine the sculptural exploration of my older work with the more functional approach of today are the most exciting for me and serve as springboards for developing new work. These shard jars are meant to look as though they were originally manufactured, but were then altered and broken down over time. In addition to the conceptual ideas behind this work, these pieces are a really fun way to explore line, form, and visual composition. A jar, whose only real function is containment, allows me to play with sculptural ideas. With the addition of a broken shard and a bit of positive-negative space, this flower vase reveals a traditional bottle form, a little nod to ceramic tradition. It's a very strange but visually compelling piece that I hope to keep exploring in the future. Time is probably the most consistent theme in my work. Some of my favorite imagery is of modern technology and architecture being consumed and recycled over time. So much of what we humans create, while believing it to be permanent, is eventually broken down and absorbed back into nature. These ideas are more obvious in my sculptural work, but I try to find ways to convey them in the functional work as well. My work is fairly precise, so I often rely on subtle irregularities in surface, hoping that it helps make the work look more handmade and less a product of ceramic industry. It's not that I reject manufactured ceramics. Some of what's being produced out there is amazing. I just enjoy the process of making and fussing over small batches. Out of many seemingly identical pieces, there are always one or two that stand out as being somehow better than the others. The fun is figuring out why and then how to repeat them. Right now, these are my favorite pieces. Next week, I'll have new ones. Next year, I might look back at the work I'm making today with a sense of disappointment, like those pieces we made in high school that Mom still keeps in the cupboard. There just aren't any shortcuts. With the industrial world full of similarities, there's still plenty of room for play and innovation. It's inspiring to know that despite thousands of years of pottery making, we can still leave our studios today having created something new. Hey, thanks for watching. Cheers.